An early 19th century traveller in the North Kerry found the common people of Listowel, an ancient market town built around a Norman castle, extremely unhappy. Well, thanks be to God we have gone from that, because Listowel is a very happy place and it's a great place to live.
My name is Cara and I'm manager of Kerry Writers Museum, the building you're now in. And what we represent here are the literary heritage of this town and this region, and we focus on 5 particular writers. And I know we have a special guest, Owen McMahon. Owen is the son of one of the writers we feature, Brian McMahon. Brian is a school teacher by trade, short story writer, a playwright, writer of children's stories, a novelist, and various genres.
My father is the statue outside, and I don't like the statue. That was not my father. My father was come here, ein scale, any news, any story. Because for my father, living in the town, everything was a story, and a story was everything. And I came across a hard word. The easy thing was to ask my father the meaning of the word. And the answer I always got is, look it up in the dictionary for yourself, boy. His great catchphrase was, there's a doubt and there's a dictionary. I was reminded of it recently driving along in the car, and a discussion broke out about the meaning of words. And a man from Cork rang in and said, I was looking at a word last night and I found another word that had the same meaning. And the disc jockey said, go on, what do you mean? The word finished and the word complete have the same meaning. It's a bit funny, eh? And he left it at that. And the man on the radio didn't know what to say. But 5 minutes later, the Kerry man rang in and said, I'll tell the Cork man the difference. He says, if you marry the right woman, you're complete. If you marry the wrong woman, you're finished. But if the right woman catches you with the wrong woman, you're completely finished.
Brian's one of the Listowel writers. The other Listowel-based writer was John B. Keane.
John B. said, I love the flags that pave the walk. I love the mud between the funny figures drawn in chalk. I love to hear the sound of drays upon their round of horses and their clock-like walk. I love to watch the corner people gawk and hear what underlies their idle talk. He wrote about the street he lived in.
The other 3 writers that we feature in the museum are from the various villages and areas around North Kerry. So the first of those is Brendan Kennelly from the village of Ballylongford, and was one of Ireland's leading poets.
His sister was married to a famous Kerry footballer who won All Irelands in 1959 and 62 and played in the same team as my brother. Brendan had a problem to drink, but in later years he gave up the drink. He came back to Listowel then. He finished up in a nursing home outside.
And the last 2 writers are a little bit older. People may not be as familiar with them, but were extremely popular during the time that they wrote. Firstly, Maurice Walsh, who was primarily a novelist, but probably is best known now for writing the short story The Quiet Man. The Quiet Man was a 1950s film directed by John Ford with Maureen O'Hara and John Wayne, but it was based on a short story which was based in this part of the world.
Usually these films are loosely based on the books. You know, they take poetic license with these things, like they did in The Field, because in The Field, where the end of it is that the bull drives his cattle over the cliff, that's not the way the play ends at all.
And lastly, but by no means least, George Fitzmaurice, who was a playwright from the village of Dewa, just out the road here.
Fitzmaurice was a playwright, a contemporary of Lady Gregory and W.B. Yeats. And he had a play produced in the Abbey. What they say around here is that Lady Gregory and Yeats were jealous of him, and they never produced any more plays of his. And he was working in Dublin as a civil servant, and he was living in a flat. And he was found dead. And the reason for the suitcase is that when he was found dead, all his plays were inside. And it was for sale. Complete set of plays of George Fitzmaurice, 10 shillings.
So that's just a little snapshot of who you're going to experience. And as you go through the museum, if you're coming on your own, we have a little audio presentation where a local storyteller will lead you around. If you're coming as a group, we have actor guides who do a performance guided tour for you. So that's kind of how we present ourselves. But Owen is going to be our guide today.
Living in a small town is a world in microcosm. All sorts of humanity is here. And my father said, you meet everybody in your days walking. He quoted Sean O'Faolain, the great short story writer, who said that artists and writers go whoring around the world, chasing after false gods. Then they come home, realise what they've got at home, and then they set down what they see at home, and then you have art. His raw material for writing was based here in this town. He says all art comes from the clay. It comes from where you were born. And a writer, he says, you don't look for diamonds through a telescope. You look for them down around about you at your feet. And that's where he drew his inspiration for his short stories here. He would say that if you live in a small town and you walk down the street with a brown paper parcel under your arm, the people will know what you have in the parcel before you get to the end of the street. And if they don't, they'll make up a story about what you have in the parcel. In a small town, if you're down and if you're out, the people will pick you up and wash you. But by God, if you're up and if you have notions, they'll bring you down, fair enough. Now, we'll go up above. He taught third class. He still wanted to be known as a writer first and a teacher afterwards. Just to tell you a little story, there's one chap in the school, and he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, and he had difficulty understanding arithmetic. And my father said to him one day, Tommy, come out to the top of the class and I'm going to explain to you arithmetic, and we'll start with addition. And Tommy, the way I'll put it to you now, supposing you had a pound in this trouser pocket and you had a pound in this trouser pocket, what would you have? Someone else's trousers, sir. He lived for those kind of stories and the laughter in school. That's what kept him going. Durkin, the poet, said, everyone has a madman on their street in their town. The only trouble with our madman was he was our father. And the trouble with my madman was my father. Madman in a way that he was mad for literature, mad for words, mad for writing. He would say he never drank in his life, but he said if he approached drinking the way he approached writing, he would have been a raving alcoholic, because he could not stop writing or the urge for writing. All these people recorded matters and set down in story. Setting it out from your own little corner here in Ireland, put it down as literature, and you might get fame for that place throughout the world. And that's what has happened here. We like to refer to Listowel as the literary capital of Ireland.